Hey everyone, how are we going? Today we've got a new deck guide. This is called Heavy Hitters. It's a second wind Skellige deck focused around big point slam units and having a lot of versatility with this leader ability. So what we're going to do is run through our list and I'll explain kind of our card choices and what our flex spots are and that kind of stuff, general game plan kind of thing. And then we're going to jump into two games, so we've got a win and a loss. I'm going to run through why we make the choices we do, why we got to the outcomes of winning or losing, what we could have done better, things like that, just to help you learn for when you're playing the deck for yourself. So we're going to start at the bottom with the bronze package. So the bronze package is very, very potent, as with a lot of Skellige decks. So the cheaper ones here, we've got Uncrate Marauder. This has been changed in the latest patch. So it's deploy melee, split 3 damage randomly between all enemy units. So there's now no longer any risk of hitting yourself. And if your opponent plays like a Milva, you can still take that out. So that's really, really nice. This could maybe be changed out for something, really just depends what you're feeling. I find Uncrate Marauders fairly decent. It's guaranteed points really, so works good for me. We've also got the classic cards of Hame Protector, Spellblood Priest, and Demon Light Longship. So you've often got those three positioned, Priest, Longship, Protector, to get the most value of each of your pings. And then you've also got Spellblood Butcher, to say hit your Tursak Veteran or the Skulls from Harold. And then we also have a Hame Herbalist. So what you could do is maybe swap out one of these and have 2 of these, or the other way around. Hame Herbalist is very often 8 points for 5, which is really, really good. But you don't always get that ping, and you may prefer to have the Tursak Veteran, which has been changed in the last patch. So this is now deploy, damage self by 3, it's an 8 power card, so it's a 5 for 5 essentially. But if you can get it to 2 health, it heals itself. So this is a ton of power potential, so if you have this placed next to a Spellblood Priest in just 3 turns, or 4 I guess, if it goes 5, 4, 3, and then 2, it'll heal itself back to 8. So that's crazy. And even if you don't, you 5 for 5, you play Herbalist, heal it by 3, boost by 3. It's a lot of points. So I've got 1 of each, you could go for 2 of either. It really just depends what you kind of feel works best for you. And now there have been a couple of changes in this list from what you're going to see in the gameplay. So in this edit we have 2 Freya's Blessings. So before then there was the Skellige Runestone and Ulfheden. So I've cut both of those to put 2 Freya's Blessings in. So this is a kind of a bit of a flex spot. Ulfheden, I was finding not to get that much value out of him, but it really just depends on your kind of meta situation you're in. So Freya's Blessing, playing a bronze Skellige unit for a graveyard. The Skellige bronzes are so good that this is often super beneficial. We can play another Priest, another Butcher if we need to trip a Berserk unit, in a pinch. We can heal, we can ping off over time. There's a lot of good bronzes. So Freya's Blessing will often get you a ton of value, and I found it's been working pretty well. Next up we have Restore, which has been also changed in the latest patch. This is now heal an allied unit, then boost it by the amount it was healed. So this is the Olaf ability on a card, essentially. We often have a lot of units that are damaged, so Restore often provides massive value. Especially works really well with the Jutta. So if you play her and she gets damaged by 6, you can then boost her back up to 18, which is a lot of points. Also works really well with Tursak Veterans, Longships that have gone down to 1 health. There's a lot of options. So again, this deck is all about options. There's a lot of big plays you can make, and Restore normally is pretty key to making a lot of those plays. Another choice here, we have Darren. So this is another bit of a flex spot. I'd probably run either Darren or Grimaced. We have Grimaced in the gameplay following, but in this case I've got Darren here, mainly used as a way to put something in our graveyard, because Second Wind, our ability, plays a Skellige unit from our graveyard. And often you've got your good Skellige units that you want to play, they're in your deck, right? You can't play them. So what you can do is play Darren, say round 1, chuck, say, I don't know, let's say Nut the Callous. Put Nut the Callous into your graveyard. And then you can play Nut and Vidkal guaranteed in 1 turn, without having to draw both, play 1, and then play it later. So that's kind of the reason for Darren. You can also do it round 3, if there's a key card in your deck you're missing. Let's say Vildkal. He's still in your deck. Play Darren round 3, put him in your graveyard, and then play Second Wind, and pull him out of your graveyard. So, a lot of versatility. That or Grimaced, I would say, depending on how much, say, bleeding locks and bounties you're running into, Grimmist might be more valuable, but I found Darren to be pretty good, so again, kind of a personal preference. Ermion, just a really staple Skellige card at this point, plays an alchemy card from our deck, so it plays Sigfrida's Right, it plays Restore, it plays Freya's Blessing, so there's a lot of choices here, and you generally just play whatever one you don't have, or whatever one you need. So works really well in that case. Also go to Skjall, just good removal. There's a lot of 3 power engines running around right now. Fire Scorpions, Dwarven Mercenaries, Lyrian Arbalists even. So Skjall works really good in getting rid of those. Nut the Callous, very key to this deck. So a key combo here, and one of the most important ones actually, is playing Nut and say Vildkarl or Olaf in one turn. Generally Vildkarl, because you by playing Nut you'll trip him into becoming the champion of Spellblood. This 12-point monstrosity. So doing that in one turn is super a lot of points. That's a 21-point combo. So, you know, you're talking about a lot of points there. But to do that, one of them needs to be in the graveyard. So you either have to play one early in round 1 and then play it again later with Second Wind and hold the other one in hand, or you can use Darren to put one in your graveyard and then play both in round 3. So whatever way works, but that's a lot of points. Same with Judah. So Judah and something like Restore is a lot of points. That's 18 points. Judah and Hjalmar is a Banish is a lot of points. There's just a lot of options for a lot of big plays here, which is really what makes this deck so powerful. And if your opponent has a tool unit, then Judah's just 12 for 8, which is pretty good. Harold, just classic really. Really good value, works well with these Spellblood Priests, and you can put it in between like a totem if you need to have the skulls like on either side. So generally just works very well. Vildkarl we've talked about already. Obviously he's a huge power card. You can trip him to get the 12 power champion of Spellblood, and he even has an ability where if he is damaged, he can destroy an allied unit, then heal self. So if you say trip this and then still have Nut available, you can use Nut on champion of Spellblood, put him to 6, and then use that to say eat a skull from Harold, one of Harold's pals. You do a 2 damage and then heal back up to 12. It's pretty insane. So, you know, a lot of these individual plays don't happen that often, but there's so many of them that you have one of them pretty often, which is what makes this deck so powerful. Next up we have Sigdrifa's Right. So this summons a Skellige unit from your graveyard into an allied row. So while it sounds similar to your leader ability, it's different in a key way. So this summons a unit, and this plays. So if you summon Harold, you ain't going to get the skulls. If you play Harold, you will get the skulls. So that's something very important to keep in mind. I've been caught out a couple of times by summoning a unit I thought was playing. And another thing with summoning is that you don't choose where on the row. It just goes to the right hand side. So if you want to summon, say, a Spellblood Priest, you can't put it to the left where any units are going to be. So keep that in mind when you're using Sigfrida's Right. Normally works best on something like Judah. Since it's a summon, the deploy ability doesn't go off, so she's just 12. If Vildkarl dies, you can just summon him, or if Champion of Spellblood dies, you can just bring that back as a 12, or Olaf. So a lot of options for big plays. You can even just play back a Tursag veteran, 8 points, pretty good. Lastly, Spellblood Totem, pretty standard here, 10-point potential. Some good synergy with the Spellblood Priests, with the Spellblood Butchers. Good resistance against like enemy heralds. If they're in a mirror, enemy herald skulls don't work very well against the Spellblood Totem because they'll trip your Spellblood Fanatics and put them to 5. So just a really powerful card in of itself. Works good for short rounds too. And then Olaf. Olaf's been around for a while. You can damage Olaf with Nut, put him to half health, and then boost by twice the amount damage, which is a lot of points. You can put him next to a Spellblood Totem. If you've lost one of the Fanatics to get that boost as well, you can put him next to a Spellblood Priest. There's just a lot of ways to damage Olaf and then boost him up by twice the amount he's damaged. So just a lot of point potential. So as you can probably tell, this deck works really well in short rounds. So if you can win round 1, grab Last Say, then either push in round 2 to get 2-0, or bleed them round 2 and have a really short round 3. That can really be super effective, especially if you've got a second wind still available. So you can have like 3 cards and you can play Olaf, Judah, Championess Fellblood, and Hjalmar, all in 3 cards with your leader ability, and that's a frick ton of points. So that can often just push your opponents out of the game, and you can pretty easily 2-0 opponents with this deck as well, especially if the round is going a bit shorter, just because you've got so many points available on hand just for some really huge point slams. So now that we've gone over that, we're going to jump into a couple of games. I'm going to explain kind of how the games go, why we get to the positions we do end up in, why it makes certain plays, things like that, so that you'll be able to learn when you play this deck itself. So let's get out of here and let's jump into the games and see how we go. Alright, so here we are. We've got our first match here, so we're coming up against Jan Calvit. And we'll see how this goes. So I won't spoil how this turns out, but we're starting off here, we're looking at Mulligan. So the goal with this deck is point slam, right? So it means we want to get a good card in our graveyard generally in round 1, so we can use it with our leader ability later in the game for a big play and combined with another card from hand. So you don't have to feel bad about using, say, an Olaf or a Nut or a Judah or something in round 1 in order to get it in the graveyard later. It's actually really beneficial to do so, even 2 cards, because you also do have Sigdrifa's Right as well. So just starting off here, looks like we've got probably a hyper thin Jan going on, and we can basically just play out our hand, save some key cards, like Ermion down there to pull an alchemy card, but mostly the rest of our hand we can pretty happily just throw away to do whatever we need to do this round. Now ideally for us, we want to win round 1, take it short, and then push for a 2-0 with like a very short round, either with a bleed or that 2-0. So either, you know, win that second round on a short few cards, or bleed him down and then win in a round 3 with probably even less cards. But the hand we have right now, it's not the greatest, you know, we've had better hands. It's not too bad, but going up against a Fire Scorpion with, you know, a shield and charges ready to go, it's a tough decision. But I do decide to push a bit here because I do really want to win round 1. It's quite important, having last say. But you know, you played hyper thin before. They have big plays, and with those Fire Scorpions, they can really tear your deck, your board up. So luckily our board right now is pretty resistant to Scorpions with the Skulls and the Berserkers, Fanatics, sorry. But now with that Priest on, he has a target. So we kind of just have to accept when versing a Jan or / Nilfgaard deck that your units are going to be removed. So it's just kind of what do you want to be removed least is what it comes down to a lot of the time. So I do decide to throw the Haymay down here. I think at this point I've pretty much agreed with myself that I'm going to lose this game, or at least this round, so I'm just going to start chucking garbage. Now he actually missed a pretty good play here. He could have nutted on the Fire Scorpion and it wouldn't have damaged it because it has a shield, but whatever. So we're pretty far behind now, 15 points. But unfortunately, nothing is in our graveyard yet, so this is kind of a bit of a problem. Ideally we would play Jitter, so that's what I do go for here.
Exactly what I
And we're only 9 points back, and we can make that up. We have 2 on the board with our Fanatics, and we've got a boat or something, but anyway, it gets invocationed, and that's going to be the end of our round, I believe. Or it should have been. If not, I should have stopped playing. No, I do play it out. Okay. So I do play it out. We're still not too far behind. You know, 10 points isn't the worst, but our hand is not very good for it. In hindsight, probably should have passed there. Because our opponent's just running ball with us here. And unfortunately we do lose Judah, so Judah is now not in the graveyard. Judah is usually the ideal target for Sigdrifa's Right, so having her completely gone is pretty bad. And Jan actually does go for the leader ability here, which was quite amazing. That tells me that he really doesn't want to play those cards in his hand. And as much as I would have liked to have pushed him to force him to. We didn't have enough. We didn't have the points, so we do have to give him the pass. So we lose the first round. To start off, not ideal. Ideally, we want to win first round and then bleed, so not a good start. But we can make it up. We have a lot of big plays with this deck, so we can make this up later on. So in the mulligan, we do chuck the Haymay and the boat. So now, because I need to mulligan pretty heavily to get the good cards we needed. Because if we don't have good cards in the graveyard, we are in a bit of a problem. Because this deck does focus a lot around the graveyard. So he passes, so we can play whatever we want. So this is a good idea to play something good, even though you don't get obviously value from it now. It means we can have it in our graveyard for a later ability. And Nut is normally the one I like to go with. Because, you know, you can use Nut with Olaf, you can use it with Judah if we had it. Even though, like, the Tersak Veteran isn't the worst thing in the world. Vildkarl there, obviously. So that's probably the more versatile card to have ready to go. So we do have that in the graveyard now. And don't forget we've got Hjalmar as well, so that's another use for Olaf or Judah if we need to banish something big. At this point, we're just looking for good cards. Looking for a couple of good ones. Olaf. We have Ermion, so we can pull an Alchemy card. And we do get our other one. So we have Restore, and then we have Sigdrifa's Right from Ermion, which is great. Having both of those available is really, really nice. Now you notice this deck, this version is running Grimmist in the deck there, instead of Deran. It's kind of a flex spot I talk about at the start of the video. Up to you, really. So luckily, we kill this Fire Scorpion with Scowl, so no more Fire Scorpions to deal with. There could be a Havoc, but Fire Scorpion's gone, and now we can just start playing things out. So we do get 2 Tersak Veterans here, which is very nice. They synergize very well with our deck. We can use Restore on them, we can Sigdrifa's Right on them to keep them at 8, we can use Nut on them. They're good targets for Hjalmar as well. So, very solid card here. So he summoned Returned Invocation. You can see Invocation was missing from his graveyard. So Invocation is now back in his deck, which is not good. So this deck is... It's kind of vulnerable to decks like this, right? Where tool removal is easy to come by. Because a lot of our units are very big. So things like Invocation... even to a lesser extent like Karathi Heatwave or Geralt, you know, anything like that, we can run into some issues. Scorch can be a big one if your opponent's ready to set up units, because we've got a lot of 12-point units, or around there. But anyway, we do use the Restore on one of the veterans, because we don't really have any other thing to use it on. And I want to use, you know, Hjalmar and Vildkarl at the last possible time. So he takes a Haymay from us, that's cool. And now we go for the Vildkarl. So we chuck that immediately, and then we can use our leader ability on Nut, and we get to trip him without our opponent being able to react. And we can do 3 damage in the process. So we do go for there. And now I've got the champion of Spellblood. Another bonus is that if you've already tripped Vildkarl earlier in the game, which is quite easy to do with, say, a Spellblood Priest or a Spellblood Totem, then you can play the Champion of Spellblood from the graveyard, and then use Nut on the Champion of Spellblood, and then heal the Champion of Spellblood again with his ability. So there's a lot of options for that. We unfortunately didn't get to pull that off, but still pretty good. So point-wise, we're actually looking okay. He does get lucky on the reveals. Potentially, unless they were all tactics. If they were all spells and tactics in his deck, then that's not luck, but we'll never know. So at this point, we're pretty much even up, interestingly enough. So this is kind of a downside here. So we actually have no good targets, really, in our graveyard for Sigdrifa's Right. 3 or 4 power is the most. That's why it's really important to play those big power units early. So Tersak Veterans, even Olaf, you know, having those things in the deck probably would have won us this game. After that Invocation, maybe not. But, you know, if we had an Olaf to pull off a Sigdrifa's Right, if we had Judah, if we had something to hit with Hjalmar, you know, we only have a 4 power. If we had a 12 in the deck, then that's, you know, a completely different story. So unfortunately, we do lose this one. It just showcases how important it is to make sure you've got big, powerful cards in the graveyard early, so you can utilize them later. But let's move on. Let's go to our second game here. So this is versus Hen Selt, someone you might have come up against a bit more prominently than usual, actually. He's starting to pop up a bit here and there, which is pretty cool. So, again, starting first round, we kind of want to try and play a couple of big cards and then our bronzes. So, we'll probably end up chucking a few of these golds that we don't really need. So, something like Grimmist is probably something we don't really need right now. Sigdriffit's Right is obviously complete garbage right now because we have nothing in a graveyard at all. In saying that though, Grimmist is, you know, a 6-point card, so there's probably not going to be many Purify targets with Hen Selt, maybe some bleeds, but, you know, he's 6 points, which isn't insignificant. So some sort of engine-based Hen Selt here. Pretty nice hit with the Uncrad Marauder. This recent change, it can't hit your own units, so pretty nice removal there. Now, we're into another problem here. We only have one big unit in our hand, and that's the Tursag Veteran. Grimmist isn't the worst, actually. He's like, you know, a 6-power Hjalmar isn't the worst thing in the world. Or even a Sigdriffit's Right on Grimmist would be okay too, since his ability is an order, not a deploy. But we don't have Olaf or Vildkarl or Nut. Well, those three are kind of the trifecta, and then Judah to a just slightly lesser extent. So those are ideal. But anyway, we'll make what we can do. So if we can manage to get that Veteran down to 2 health, he will heal back to 8, which is very, very nice. And this setup here with the Trebuchets means that it's pretty likely that he's going to be hitting units next to our Hammer Protector, which is negating his Trebuchet points. And it might even heal our unit for us, if it hits the right guy enough. There you go. So we can just keep playing this out. We kind of want to try and go for the short round again. We can use the Butcher there, heal that back up, do the damage. So this is a pretty nice like 3-way setup with our units. Even to make it better, we might have a Svalbard Priest on the left hand side. Something like that would be pretty nice. But I mean, this is pretty good, I can't really complain. So we do have Grimmist here if we want. He doesn't really do anything, but he's 6 points. Runestone is never a bad idea. You can normally get something pretty good, and here we get something really good. So we do actually have Bloodlust set up so we can kill that mage. Very nice pull. Another benefit with the Runestone is that it's an alchemy card. So if we do need to pull an alchemy card with Ermion and we have, you know, Restore and Sigdriffit's Right in hand, we do have that target with the Runestone. I know in the deck we talked about earlier, we do have Freya's Blessing, the Restore Bronze unit, instead of the Runestone. So, kind of depends, just personal preference, kind of how the meta's going at the time of you playing it. But so far, the goal's going really good. So we've gone to a pretty short round. We've won it. So now we control this game. So we can kind of control the flow of battle if we want to bleed in round 2. Maybe force a leader ability. Or just let him have it and then play along round 3 if our hand is good for it. We'll see. So this hand's actually pretty good. Looking for Nut. Nut is a very key card here because he trips Vildkarl. So having Nut is very, very important. So I'm going to mulligan pretty hard for him. Probably get rid of that Heimei Herbalist, I think, as well. Though in saying that, the Herbalist with Judah is quite nice. That's 8 points. Plus Judah's 6 if he doesn't if she does go down. But we do get rid of it, we do get Olaf. So I would feel a lot better about pushing here if we had Nut. Because we have all our big cards but nothing to trigger them with. So I think we do just go for a bit of a shorter bleed. I think, I can't remember exactly, but I think we do play Judah. So playing Judah means she's in the graveyard for later, when she's our ideal Sigdriffit's Right target. So yep, down she goes. Because remember, with Sigdriffit's Right, deploys don't trigger because you just summon the unit, you don't actually play it. So it just summons for 12, the deploy ability doesn't trigger, and she's there to 12, which is lovely. And now I've got a choice. Do you want to keep going? I don't really want to go a card down, so I do decide to keep going a bit here. Because the thing is with this deck, we can win with 3 cards and have a ridiculous amount of points with, say, a leader ability and a Vildkarl and a Nut and a Sigdriffit's Right or something. Like, it's so many points for such a short amount of cards. So even if we do go a card down, it's not the end of the world, but we'd rather not, right? So, and I mean, we can tell here if he's using Queen Dahlia on a Centurion Envoy, we're in a pretty good spot. So I do decide to push even harder. We do go for Restore onto Judah, which puts her at 20. So Restore is essentially the Olaf effect on a card. So it heals the unit and then boosts it by the amount healed. Now we do get Igni here. Surprising Igni, wasn't expecting it. But, you know, not the end of the world. Again, we still have these big plays. And this is a bit of a greedy play. So I'm like, okay, I don't think he can remove it. And I go for it, he can't. And now we're in an interesting space. So we can choose to either play Olaf, or just pass, or even use our leader ability if we really wanted. But the points aren't looking great. Okvist is a bit scary. He's got 2 more cards in hand, plus his leader ability. So we do go for the pass. So unfortunately we don't get to trip Vildkarl, but that's okay. We can trip him with Nut. Ideally we would have tripped him there, but there wasn't any way to do it. So we're a card down here. Both have our leader abilities ready to go, but this is going to illustrate how much power you can get out of such few cards. So there's Sigdrifa's Right, there's Fellblood Totem, there's Olaf, and we do keep the Priest. So this is 4 cards plus our leader ability, so just pause the video and have a guess of how many points you think we're going to end up with at the end of this round. Spoiler alert, it's quite a few. So here we go. So he goes to start first.
Doubt I'll ever pay off these school loans.
With an Aretuza Adept. And we've got some pretty resilient cards against engine decks. You know, this Fellblood Totem is really nice. Olaf is pretty good if you can't remove him immediately. So we can start off there. See, he's got double Aretuza Adept. So luckily no engine seen yet. And here's another way to trip Vildkarl without needing Nut. So you notice we haven't drawn Nut this whole game, which we ideally use with Vildkarl. But Vildkarl's in the graveyard and we would like him to reappear. Because we have our 2 ideal targets. We've got Vildkarl and we've got Judah. So we're going to play Vildkarl next to the totem. We're going to put the priest to the left of Vildkarl. We're going to trip the totem. And there comes Champion of Fellblood. Boom. So that's a lot of points. And now we still have 8 on Olaf and we've got 12 on Sigdrifa's Right. So we've got 20 more points here. Plus whatever we can get from Olaf's ability and the Fellblood Priest. So we're pretty much running ham on this guy at this point. Luckily his leader ability, he used a lot of his engines early on and either maybe didn't have many left or just drew badly. So we got pretty lucky by the fact that we pushed him pretty hard in first round. So I think he would use both Arbalists and 1 Centurion Mage Spellweaver, which means he can't use them on his leader ability, obviously. And he used 2 Trebuchets. So he does drop Draug. Honestly, not a huge concern. Our units are fairly large. We could get countered by a Vincent Mez here. That would be pretty brutal on Judah. But we're at 48 to 21. Even the biggest Vincent in the world wouldn't do it. Yeah, I think he does actually drop one here on Judah. Yep. So even in this case, you know, Judah dies. We still have a ton of points. And we do end up winning this one by a few. So you can just see how many points are available in such a short round with this deck. So I hope you guys enjoy, have fun, make changes if you need to. There's a couple of, you know, there's some flex spots that I talked about at the start. So do what kind of works for you at the time. But I hope you've enjoyed this deck guide. Best of luck for your games with it. And thank you all so much for watching. There's links to the deck itself and a written guide in the description below. Thank you all again so much, and we will see you next time.